Hey, it's Mark Lanier with your video thought for the day. Yes, I'm still on the road. You can guess down below where I am. I think this background may give you a better shot at it. I have been talking to you this week about conjunctions in the Bible. These are special words that connect different sentences or words or phrases and give greater meaning and context to whatever's being said. Very important words. And I hope you go back and listen to some of them. But today, I want to talk about one that was sent to me by my good friend Rick. And it's a fantastic one that's very seasonal because we are coming into the season of Passover, Pesach in Hebrew, Christian Easter, and Holy Week. And it is a very special time of reminiscing about God's freedom. In Hebrew recognition and history, it was a freedom from Pharaoh and the Israelites' bondage in Egypt. The Christian understanding of this is that it's a freedom from the slavery and bondage that we have to the sin of this world and to the sin in our lives as well. Both understanding that God's calling us forth into a promised land. But if you go back to that Exodus chapter 7, verse 16 passage, you've got buried there this very important conjunction word. The passage is God telling Moses to go tell Pharaoh, to quote, thus says the Lord God of the Hebrews, let my people go. But the sentence doesn't end there. It's got the conjunction. Now in Hebrew, this conjunction is just one simple letter. It's the letter Vav, and it's used in all sorts of ways. It can mean and, it can mean but, it can mean so that, or in order that. But here it is, and it says, and it's just one little letter attached to the front of a word. It's really cool. God says, let my people go so that they may serve or worship through serving me in the wilderness. If we leave the back half of this sentence off, we've got this idea of let my people go, God just calling them into a melee, a free-for-all of freedom. And we misunderstand freedom. God called them into freedom. God liberated the Israelites, just as Jesus liberates the believer from the kingdom of sin and the bondage of sin. The liberation is for a higher purpose. The freedom comes from serving God. The Jewish rabbis at the time of Jesus were commenting on this, specifically out of another passage. I think it's Exodus 32:16, where God's giving the 10 Commandments, but it says that God engraved them with his finger, charut in the Hebrew. Well, you can take those same letters in the Hebrew and just vocalize them differently, charut. And once you do it with charut, you've got the word freedom. And the rabbis made this word play, because God engraved them with his finger, but he freedomed them with his finger. He gave freedom through giving commandments. Here's the idea. There are boundaries in our lives. And just as we teach children when they're growing up, here are the boundaries. You can't do this, you can't play in the street, and you can't swim in the pool without an adult present. But within those boundaries, you can have a great time because you know where your limits are. And that's the freedom that God gave to Israel. He freed them, let my people go so that they could serve me, get the boundaries, and within that, have an incredible life. A life of productivity, a life of love, a life of encouragement, a life of building, a life of all of the riches that can be offered within the guardrails so that it's good for us and good for God and his kingdom. And that's the coolness of that conjunction. By the way, when Jewish scholars were translating that into Greek, they took that one little letter and they transferred it into the Greek word, translated it into the Greek word hina, which means so that or in order that, because they recognized, let my people go in order that they might serve me. That's the freedom we have. So today, I want to tell you, you are free, conjunction, so that you might serve God. That's your video thought for today. One more tomorrow.